In this fast-paced world that constantly pulls us in every direction, we often find ourselves searching for healing outside of ourselves. We look for validation from others. We believe experiences can fill the emptiness we feel, and we hope that external circumstances will fix the brokenness within us. It's a familiar story, one we've been taught to follow, that the answers lie outside of us. But what if we've been wrong all along? What if true healing doesn't come from the world around us, but from within? The Buddha, a figure of deep wisdom and insight, shared a profound truth with us that continues to resonate across centuries. True healing, he taught, is not something that is granted by external forces. It's not something that can be bought or attained from another person's approval. The healing we seek is already inside us. This may sound simple, yet it is one of the most powerful realizations we can have. The journey toward healing begins the moment we stop seeking answers outside of ourselves and begin the courageous task of turning inward. The illusion we often face is the belief that someone else can fix what is broken within us. We wait for others to recognize our pain, for others to step in and offer solutions. But in Buddhism, we are reminded that healing is not about someone else coming to our rescue. Instead, it is about our ability to confront the very things that wound us. We must face our own pain, sit with it, and let it teach us. Healing doesn't happen when we run from discomfort. It occurs when we turn toward it with openness and awareness, allowing ourselves to be present with the emotions and experiences that arise within us. What does it mean to truly heal? It means understanding that we don't need to wait for the perfect circumstances, the perfect person, or the perfect moment. Healing begins right here, right now, in this very moment, when we take the first step inward. When we stop waiting for someone to save us, we realize that we are capable of saving ourselves. It's not about being perfect, and it's not about avoiding pain. It's about how we respond to our suffering and how we allow it to shape us. Pain is inevitable in life, but suffering is optional. Suffering comes when we resist the pain, when we try to push it away or deny its existence. Healing, however, begins the moment we stop resisting and start accepting. Imagine for a moment that you are sitting in the stillness of your own being. Around you, the world is noisy and chaotic. The demands of life continue to pull at you. The endless to-do lists, the expectations, the fears. Yet here you are in this moment of peace. You have chosen to stop running, to stop looking for the answer outside of yourself, and to embrace the truth that everything you need is already within you. This is not an easy path. It requires us to be vulnerable, to be honest with ourselves, and to confront the parts of us that we may have been avoiding for years. It asks us to be present with our pain, not to dismiss it or ignore it, but to sit with it and learn from it. The Buddha taught that suffering is not the enemy, it is the teacher. Pain, in its purest form, is a messenger, a guide showing us where we need to heal. When we meet pain with resistance, we suffer. But when we meet pain with acceptance, we are given the opportunity to grow. In our journey of healing, mindfulness becomes a powerful tool. Through mindfulness, we learn to stay present in the moment, to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment. We stop identifying with our pain, and instead we begin to see it as something separate from who we truly are. This shift in perspective allows us to create space between ourselves and the pain we feel, giving us the freedom to respond with compassion and understanding. When we heal from within, we also transform our relationship with the world around us. Instead of seeking validation or approval from others, we begin to radiate a sense of inner peace and confidence. We no longer need to prove our worth or chase after external accolades. We find contentment in simply being who we are, in embracing our imperfections and accepting the present moment for what it is. We realize that we don't need to be fixed because we are already whole. We are already enough. The Buddha's teachings encourage us to trust in our own inner wisdom, to have faith that we have the strength to heal and to transform our suffering into something beautiful. Healing is not a one-time event, but a continuous process, a journey that unfolds each day as we make the choice to show up for ourselves. It is a path of self-discovery where we learn to embrace our pain, accept our flaws, and celebrate our strengths. Each time we face a challenge, we are given the opportunity to heal. Each time we sit with our discomfort and allow it to teach us, we grow stronger. Healing doesn't mean that we become immune to pain, but that we learn how to respond to it with grace and resilience. We begin to see pain as a teacher rather than an enemy, a necessary part of the human experience that helps us grow. As we walk this path of healing, we also learn to cultivate compassion for others. When we heal ourselves, we become better equipped to help others heal as well. We begin to see the interconnectedness of all beings, recognizing that we are all on this journey together. Our pain becomes a source of empathy, and our healing becomes a gift that we can share with the world. In closing, the journey to healing is one of profound self-discovery. It requires us to be brave enough to look inward, to face our pain, and to embrace the lessons it offers. It is a journey that takes time, patience, and self-compassion. But when we begin the process of healing from within, we discover a peace that transcends the external world. It is a peace that comes from knowing that we are enough, just as we are, and that we hold the power to heal ourselves. So the next time you feel the weight of the world upon your shoulders, remember that healing begins not with someone else, but with you. The journey inward is the most transformative one you will ever take. In the fast-paced world we live in, we're often taught that healing is something that must be pursued and conquered, something external that can fix what is broken within us. We look for solutions everywhere, in people, in experiences, in validation from others. But what if I told you that the true path to healing isn't something we need to chase or achieve through external means? What if healing is not about fixing what is broken, but rather about being with what is broken in the present moment? The Buddha, in his infinite wisdom, taught us that true healing does not require us to fight against life's pain, suffering, or discomfort. Healing is not about finding a quick fix or escaping from what we don't want to face. Instead, it is about embracing the present moment with open arms, with full awareness, and allowing ourselves to sit with what is. When we stop resisting our pain and allow ourselves to be fully present with it, we open the door to a healing that is profound, lasting, and truly transformative. This idea might seem counterintuitive in a world that constantly pushes us to avoid pain and discomfort. We're conditioned to look for ways to fix our struggles, to numb ourselves from the suffering we feel. Whether it's distractions, addictions, or the constant pursuit of external validation, we are taught to look outside ourselves for relief. But what the Buddha teaches is something far deeper. Healing comes from within. It comes from the ability to face ourselves in the mirror of the present moment, to fully experience whatever we are going through without judgment or denial. It is the art of mindfulness, of being so deeply present with ourselves that we begin to notice the subtle shifts that take place when we stop trying to change everything around us. At first, this may feel like an uncomfortable practice. How often do we find ourselves trying to escape the pain of life? How many times have we been afraid of sitting still with our emotions, afraid of what they might reveal? But what if we took a different approach? What if we allowed ourselves to simply be present with our pain instead of running from it? In Buddhism, we learn that true healing happens when we make peace with the present moment, when we stop trying to change what we can't control and simply breathe deeply, accepting what is. The stillness of this moment is not emptiness. It is a space of deep healing and transformation. The Buddha reminds us that mindfulness is the gateway to peace. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to observe the world without judgment, to see ourselves as we are, without the need to fix, improve, or change anything. In those moments of mindfulness, we stop fighting life and instead embrace it. We stop struggling against the currents of our thoughts and emotions, and instead we sit still within them. We stop denying our pain, and in doing so, we let it teach us. Pain, in its essence, is not our enemy. It is a teacher, a guide that leads us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Imagine for a moment that you are sitting quietly in a room. The noise of the world outside seems so far away. The distractions of the day fade, and you are left with nothing but your breath and the stillness of the present moment. In this space, you find a new kind of freedom. It's not the freedom of escaping your problems or avoiding your emotions. No, it's the freedom that comes from fully experiencing life as it is without trying to change it. In this stillness, you become aware of everything that is present in your body, your mind, your heart. You feel your breath rise and fall with gentle rhythm, You notice the thoughts that arise, and instead of trying to push them away, you simply allow them to pass through. In these moments, healing begins. It begins not because we have fixed something that is broken, but because we have allowed ourselves to be present with what is. We are no longer running away from our pain. Instead, we are sitting with it, breathing through it, and learning from it. And in this process, we begin to heal, not because the pain disappears, but because we change our relationship with it. We no longer see pain as something to be avoided or feared. Instead, we begin to understand it as an integral part of our journey, something that holds the potential to teach us wisdom, compassion, and strength. True healing doesn't come from looking outside ourselves for answers or validation. It comes from within, from the courage to sit with ourselves in the present moment and embrace what we find there. It comes from the willingness to breathe through our discomfort, to open our hearts to our struggles, and to learn from the very things that once seemed to break us. The Buddhist teachings remind us that peace is not found in the external world, but in the stillness within. When we learn to sit with life as it is, without judgment or resistance, we discover a deep sense of peace that cannot be shaken by the storms of the world. We live in a world that tells us to constantly move forward, to chase after success, to fix everything that's broken. But in Buddhism, we learn that healing is not about fixing, it is about being. It is about being present with ourselves and with the world, accepting life as it unfolds, and finding peace in the process. When we stop fighting against our pain, when we stop trying to control every aspect of our lives, we find that we are more capable of healing than we ever imagined. And in that healing, we discover the true power of presence, the ability to simply be without fear, without expectation, and without the need to fix anything at all. So my friends, I invite you to consider this. Instead of running from your pain, instead of trying to escape the discomfort of life, what if you allowed yourself to sit with it? What if, in the stillness of the present moment, you found the space to heal? The Buddhist teachings show us that healing is not an external journey. It is an internal one. It is the journey of being fully present with ourselves, embracing life as it is, and allowing the wisdom of the present moment to guide us to peace. In that space, healing is not something we must chase. It is something we can simply allow to unfold within us, with every breath, with every moment of mindfulness. One of the most profound and challenging teachings in Buddhism is the art of letting go. In our human experience, we often find ourselves clinging to our pain, our regrets, and our anger, believing that by holding on, we can make sense of it, or at the very least, control it. This attachment to our suffering, though, is the very thing that perpetuates it. We become trapped in cycles of negative emotions, constantly reliving the hurt, and we wonder why it seems impossible to find peace. The Buddha, in his infinite wisdom, taught us a simple yet powerful truth. Attachment is the root of suffering. In order to heal, we must first learn to let go, not of our pain itself, but of the attachment we have to it. This may sound counterintuitive. How can we release something so deeply ingrained in our lives? How can we let go of the very thing that we think defines us? But therein lies the key to true healing. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or dismissing our pain. It's not about pretending that the hurt we've experienced doesn't matter. On the contrary, it is about acknowledging our pain, giving ourselves permission to feel it fully, but also recognizing that holding on to it forever is a choice. It is a decision we make to keep the wound open, to hold the suffering close as though it defines us. But the Buddha reminds us that attachment is not just a clinging to positive experiences or material things. We can also be deeply attached to our suffering, our anger, and even our past regrets. We hold on because we believe that somehow it will give us a sense of control or understanding. But as we learn through Buddhist teachings, the more we grip onto these feelings, the more they bind us, the more they keep us from experiencing true peace. Letting go is not about denying our feelings. It's about releasing the grip that we have on them. We must allow ourselves to experience our emotions without being controlled by them. Think of it like holding a stone in your hand. The stone may represent our anger, our grief, our past mistakes. We can hold it tightly and feel its weight, or we can choose to release it and place it down. The act of releasing doesn't make the stone vanish, but it does free our hand. It makes space for something new to emerge. And in that space, peace can begin to grow. Buddhism teaches us that pain is inevitable. It is a natural part of life. We cannot avoid it, no matter how hard we try. Whether it's the pain of loss, the sting of betrayal, or the hurt of unhealed wounds, suffering is part of the human experience. However, the Buddha also taught that while pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Suffering arises when we attach ourselves to our pain, when we allow it to become an integral part of who we are. But the Buddha's teachings are clear. We have the ability to release that attachment, and in doing so, free ourselves from the cycle of suffering. The first step in this journey of letting go is acceptance. Acceptance is not about agreeing with what happened or pretending that things are fine when they are not. It is about acknowledging the reality of the situation without resisting it. When we resist our pain, when we try to push it away or deny it, we only strengthen its grip on us. But when we accept our pain as a natural part of life, we allow ourselves the freedom to heal. Acceptance means recognizing that our pain does not define us and that we are not bound by it. It means realizing that we are more than our suffering and that our lives have the capacity to evolve beyond it. Once we have accepted our pain, the next step is surrender. Surrendering is not about giving up or admitting defeat. It is about releasing the need to control our emotions, our circumstances, and our reactions. Surrendering is about trusting that, even in the face of hardship, there is a greater wisdom at work in the universe. By letting go of the need to control, we open ourselves up to new possibilities. We create space for healing, for transformation, and for growth. Surrender is a powerful act of trust in ourselves and in the process of life. In the Buddhist tradition, there is a powerful story of a monk who, while traveling, comes across a river that is swollen from a recent storm. On the other side of the river, there is a heavy burden of stones which the monk decides to carry. As he trudges along, the weight of the stones becomes unbearable, and he begins to struggle. He becomes exhausted and frustrated, wishing for the burden to lighten. Eventually, he reaches a point where he realizes the folly of carrying the stones. He has no reason to continue carrying them, yet he has done so out of habit, out of attachment. In a moment of clarity, he releases the stones, feeling a sense of freedom and relief as he continues on his journey. This story is a metaphor for our own attachment to pain. Just as the monk carried stones that were not his to bear, we too carry emotional burdens that weigh us down and hold us back from living fully. By letting go of these burdens, we free ourselves from the weight of our suffering and make room for healing to begin. Letting go also involves forgiveness, both of others and of ourselves. Forgiveness is not about condoning the actions that have hurt us, but about releasing the hold that those actions have over us. When we forgive, we are not doing it for the benefit of the person who wronged us. We are doing it for ourselves. Forgiveness frees us from the chains of resentment and anger, allowing us to move forward in peace. It's an act of self-compassion, an act of letting go of the past so that we can fully embrace the present and the future. It is important to remember that letting go is not a one-time act. It is a continual process, a practice that we return to again and again. It is easy to think that once we have let go of something, it will be gone forever. But the truth is that life is dynamic, and we are constantly faced with new challenges, new sources of pain, and new opportunities for growth. The act of letting go is something we must cultivate over time, learning to release not only the big hurts, but the small frustrations, the everyday disappointments, and the subtle attachments that bind us. Each moment is an opportunity to let go and to trust in the process of healing. True healing, as the Buddha taught, is not about avoiding pain, but about learning to live with it. It is about accepting that pain is a part of life, but it does not need to control us. Healing is not a destination, it is a journey of self-discovery, of surrender, of acceptance, and of trust. As we walk this path, we learn that the more we let go, the more we make space for peace, for buddhi, and for the wisdom that comes from embracing life just as it is. In the act of letting go, we create the possibility for something new to emerge, a deeper sense of peace, a stronger sense of self, and a life lived with intention, compassion, and love. Healing is a profound journey, one that requires us to look inward and rediscover the strength that resides within us all. In the teachings of Buddhism, healing is not about waiting for the world to change, for someone else to apologize, or for life to be made fair. Healing is an act of empowerment, a powerful choice to reclaim what was once given away to our past wounds, fears, and pain. It's not a passive waiting game. Rather, it's an active pursuit, a conscious decision to take control of our lives, to reclaim our peace, and to walk forward with resilience and purpose. In Buddhism, we are reminded that true strength does not come from external circumstances, but from within. The Buddha teaches us that we all have the power to heal ourselves, to break free from the chains of our suffering, and to embrace peace despite the chaos of the world around us. The path to healing begins the moment we stop looking outward for validation or solutions and instead turn inward, choosing to take responsibility for our emotional well-being. This journey is not about denying our pain or pretending that everything is fine when it isn't. It's about acknowledging the pain, sitting with it, and allowing it to be a teacher. For every wound we carry, there is a lesson to be learned. For every fear, there is an opportunity for growth. Healing doesn't mean eliminating the hurt. It means learning how to navigate it with grace and understanding. The Buddha once said, "Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional." This statement invites us to reflect on how we approach our pain. We have the power to decide how we respond to the challenges life throws at us. When we take responsibility for our responses, we regain control over our lives. We stop giving away our power to the past, to others, or to circumstances. Instead, we become the masters of our own emotional landscape. Healing becomes not a reaction to the world, but a conscious choice to reclaim our own peace. To heal is to step into our own lives with intention and purpose. It requires us to face the truth of our experiences without judgment or blame. In Buddhist philosophy, suffering is seen as a natural part of life, not something to be avoided or suppressed. It is through suffering that we are able to learn the deepest lessons about ourselves, about compassion, and about the nature of existence. Instead of fearing suffering, Buddhism teaches us to embrace it as part of our path to enlightenment. It is through the acceptance of pain that we open ourselves up to healing and transformation. In this light, healing is not about erasing the past or pretending that everything is okay. It's about learning to live with the past, to accept it for what it is, and to move forward with the wisdom we've gained. It's about understanding that while we cannot always control the circumstances around us, we can control how we respond. By choosing to respond with mindfulness and compassion, we reclaim our power and our peace. Healing also requires us to release the attachments that bind us to our pain. In Buddhism, attachment is considered the root of suffering. We often hold on to our past hurts, our fears, and our regrets, thinking that they define us. But true healing requires us to let go of these attachments. It doesn't mean we forget the pain or the lessons, but rather that we free ourselves from the grip that our past holds over us. By letting go, we create space for new experiences, new growth, and new possibilities. We allow ourselves to be present in the moment, to experience life as it is, and to move forward without being weighed down by the past. This act of letting go is not easy. It requires courage, patience, and a willingness to face the discomfort that comes with change. But it is a necessary step on the path to healing. The Buddha taught that true freedom comes not from external circumstances, but from within. When we let go of our attachments and embrace the present moment, we find a freedom that is not dependent on the world around us. We are free to choose how we respond, how we heal, and how we live. Healing is also a journey of self-compassion. In Buddhism, we are encouraged to be kind to ourselves, to treat ourselves with the same love and understanding that we offer to others. We often find it easier to show compassion to others than to ourselves, but healing begins with self-compassion. When we are kind to ourselves, we allow space for healing. We stop beating ourselves up for our mistakes, our flaws, or our perceived shortcomings. Instead, we learn to embrace ourselves as we are, with all of our imperfections, and to recognize that we are worthy of love and healing just as much as anyone else. In this journey of healing, we are also reminded of the importance of mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, of observing our thoughts, feelings, and experiences without judgment. It is through mindfulness that we are able to develop a deeper understanding of ourselves and our pain. When we are mindful, we are able to see our suffering for what it is, a passing experience, not a permanent state. We learn to observe our pain with curiosity, to explore its roots, and to understand how it shapes our thoughts and behaviors. Through mindfulness, we develop the clarity to see that suffering is not something to be feared or avoided, but something that can be transformed into wisdom. Healing also involves cultivating a sense of gratitude. In Buddhism, gratitude is seen as a powerful force that can shift our perspective and open our hearts. When we focus on what we are grateful for, we shift our attention away from our pain and toward the blessings in our lives. Gratitude helps us to appreciate the present moment, to recognize the beauty in even the smallest things, and to find joy in the process of healing. It is through gratitude that we are able to connect with the deeper truths of life and to recognize that healing is not just about overcoming pain, but about embracing the fullness of life. The path to healing is not a straight line. It is a winding road with ups and downs, moments of clarity, and moments of confusion. But it is a road worth walking. With each step, we reclaim more of our power, more of our peace, and more of our true selves. Healing is not about perfection. It is about progress. It is about learning to live with intention, to choose peace, and to move forward with resilience and compassion. As we walk this path, we are reminded that healing is a lifelong journey. It doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen in a straight line. But with each step, we grow stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. We learn to embrace our pain, to let go of our attachments, and to live with mindfulness and gratitude. And in doing so, we transform our suffering into wisdom, our pain into peace, and our journey into a path of enlightenment. In the sacred teachings of Buddhism, the essence of healing transcends the mere idea of fixing what is broken. True healing, as the Buddha has guided us, is not about mending the fractures we carry, but about recognizing the innate wholeness that resides within us, waiting to be acknowledged. From the moment we are born, we are whole, complete not because of the absence of flaws, but because of our imperfection. It is through our scars, our wounds, and the lessons we have learned through hardship that we find our true beauty. Each mark, each hurt, each moment of growth adds to the intricate mosaic of who we are. We are not broken, we are whole, not because we have achieved some idealized state of perfection, but because we embrace ourselves as we are. Healing is often seen as the process of reaching a destination, but in Buddhism, we understand that healing is not an endpoint. It is a journey. It is a path of self-compassion, of self-acceptance, and of deep love for who we are right now. It is not about perfecting ourselves to meet some external standard, but about seeing the beauty in our flaws and accepting them with the same love and care we would offer to a dear friend. And when we accept ourselves as we are, in our entirety, with all our light and shadows, we step onto the path of true healing. We learn that we are already whole and always have been. One of the most powerful metaphors in Buddhism is the lotus flower. The lotus blooms in the muddy waters of a pond, and yet its petals emerge pure and radiant. The beauty of the lotus lies not in its perfection, but in its resilience to bloom despite the murkiness surrounding it. Likewise, we too can bloom through our struggles, not in spite of them, but because of them. The difficulties we face in life, the pain, the heartache, the trials, they are not obstacles that block our growth. They are the very soil in which our spiritual roots are nourished. Without the mud, there would be no lotus. Without our struggles, we would not understand the depths of our strength and beauty. Healing in Buddhism is about embracing our imperfections as part of our wholeness. It is about understanding that the journey we take is not linear, and there is no finish line waiting for us. Rather, it is a constant unfolding, an ever-deepening connection to our truest selves. When we stop trying to escape our wounds, we allow them to guide us toward deeper wisdom. When we stop resisting pain, we transform it into a source of strength. Healing in this sense is not about getting better in the conventional way. It is about learning to live with ourselves as we are, fully present, fully engaged with the moment, and embracing every part of who we are. The Buddha spoke of suffering as an inevitable part of life. However, he also reminded us that suffering is not something we must carry forever. In fact, the Buddha taught that suffering itself is an opportunity for liberation. It is a chance to free ourselves from the attachment to our pain, to the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what we deserve. When we release our attachment to suffering, we discover the space for healing, for peace, and for the loving embrace of the present moment. Self-acceptance is the cornerstone of true healing. When we embrace ourselves, imperfections and all, we step into the wisdom of the Buddha. We realize that we do not need to become someone else or attain some idealized version of ourselves. We are already enough. Just as the lotus grows from the murky waters, we too grow from our struggles. It is through accepting our wounds, our challenges, and our flaws that we come to understand our true nature. We are not broken, we are whole, just as we are. To walk the path of healing, we must begin by sitting with our discomfort, with our pain, and allowing it to teach us. We must stop seeing ourselves as something needing to be fixed and instead begin to see ourselves as a work of art, a masterpiece in progress. Healing is not about erasing our past, but about integrating it into the whole of who we are. Every experience, every moment of pain, every moment of integral pieces of the puzzle that is our being. In the Buddhist teachings, we are reminded that suffering is not an end in itself, but a doorway to understanding. It is through suffering that we come to understand compassion, both for ourselves and for others. Compassion is not about fixing someone else's pain, but about sitting with them, walking beside them, and offering them the space to heal. Compassion is the ability to accept both ourselves and others in their entirety, without judgment, without the need for perfection. It is through compassion that we learn to love ourselves fully, without reservation. Buddhism teaches us that the path to healing is not one of denial, but one of radical acceptance. We are called to accept our humanity, our impermanence, and our wounds as part of our shared experience. It is through this acceptance that we find freedom. When we embrace ourselves fully, without resistance, we allow ourselves to flow with the natural rhythm of life, to rise and fall like the tides, knowing that every ebb is followed by a rise. Healing is not about maintaining a state of constant perfection, but about learning to flow with life's natural cycles. When we heal, we do not erase our past, we integrate it. Our experiences, both painful and joyful, become part of the wisdom that guides us forward. Just as the lotus flower does not discard the mud from which it grows, we too carry our experiences with us, using them as a source of wisdom. Every challenge we face, every wound we heal, becomes a point of connection to our truest selves. In this way, healing becomes a process of remembering who we truly are, whole, complete, and perfect in our imperfection. So let us walk the path of healing with open hearts, embracing all that we are, our light, our shadows, our strengths, and our weaknesses. In doing so, we discover that the wholeness we seek has always been with us, waiting to be seen. Just as the lotus blooms in muddy waters, we too can bloom through our struggles, finding beauty in the most unexpected places. Healing is not about fixing what is broken. It is about recognizing the perfection in our imperfection.